talked over here that there is something which is called partnership. Even if it's not the main, it is not the real reason. As, for example, in the creation of man, we say that there are three partners: the person, the father, the mother, and then there is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is Hashem. So even though they're not equal partners, as the Rebbe brings out, first of all, Hashem gives the neshama, and the neshama is the main aspect of the person, because without the soul, there is no real person after the person is gone, like he explains. Even in the part that the parents give, it's also really Hashem's, is that energizes. But nevertheless, because parents have a choice, as the Rebbe pointed out, that some people naturally, there's really no reason why they should not have children. And the only reason is because Hashem, the Koyach Ein Sof. So that is, at least the parents, though, have to participate. Why are they called partners? Because if parents choose not to have children, not to be together, not to have children, then they make that choice. He quotes from Ben Azai. He said that, what could I do? I want to study Torah. He didn't marry. So the point here is, at least there is partnership, because they make the choice to have children. So even though who gives them the koyach, and who is the one that creates, and who is the one that is the main in the child that is born, is the Ein Sof, is the third partner, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but still they are considered partners. But what happens if the item has no choice at all? We can't even call them a partner. They're not even a partner. We're going to continue. The Imkain, move on. So we can understand that the mizah from this, the bamesh lo yesh abechira chofshis upoyel b'derech hecheret, that that doesn't have choice, doesn't have freedom of choice, and it works that it has to be. It is not something that they have a choice to do. Then we cannot describe to him, to that item, even participation. Gives you an example. In other words, you need to do something of your choice in order to even be considered a partner. But if it's not up to you at all, then you're not even a partner in it. As for example, take the earth from which bread comes out. So the kshezorim chita ba'oretz v'yerdu gishomim, that when you sow wheat in the ground and the rain descends, matzmiach b'koyach hatzemeach sheba'oretz, then it grows with the power of growth that is in the earth. Let me give me a second here. Okay, so the bread, this is the nature. There is really no choice. It's not like the earth or that the growth has a choice whether they want to grow or not to grow. When you sow wheat in the ground, and rain descends, so then it grows. The power of tzemech, which is in the ground, grows the wheat. So what does this mean? It's no partnership of the ground in growing. The ground doesn't make a choice to grow. The earth isn't a choice, does not have a choice that the wheat should not grow. From the power of growth, which is in the ground, which is the godly saying that let the earth sprout. That is, what is the power that the earth has to grow things? That is God's saying, the godly saying of Tad She'Ha'aretz, let the earth sprout forth. So the ground has a standing order, so to speak, that it needs to grow. So it automatically grows when you sow the ground. It's not something that the ground has a choice. Another example. The pasuk says, "Mimeged tevuos shomesh, umimeged geresh yirochim." So that means meged means the sweetness of the grain of the tevuah comes from the sun. When the sun shines down onto the ground, that provides, so to speak, the sweetness that the ground has. That's the memeged shomayim. That's the sweetness from the, and the same thing is memeged, and the sweetness of geresh yirochim is from the moon, that the moon provides for the grain. So that input from the sun, from the moon, that does not come through the choice of the sun and the moon. Like the verse says, he will say to the cheres, to the clay, referring to the moon, and it won't shine. Basically, that the shine that comes from the sun is automatic. It's not by choice. It's embedded. That's what happens. It does not exist. It's not in the choice of the sun not to shine light, or that the light should not be hot. We shouldn't get the heat. This is not its choice. The same thing, the light of the levana shouldn't be cold. The light of the sun is a hot light, it comes down as heat, and the light of the levana is that it shouldn't be cold. And therefore, hagam shehashpo ihal yodom. So in that case, even though that the flow comes down through them, it's the sun that sweetens and the moon that sweetens. We cannot describe in them the concept that they are partners. They are merely like a tool, like an axe in the hand of the one who digs with it. Say, for example, hagarzin, that's the metal, the shovel, the metal axe, who digs stones from the mountain. So you have here the garzin, You cannot describe and say that the gars and the axe has a partnership in the job that you're doing here. He has really no part in it, only that which the person digs through him. And likewise, Hashemesh v'hayareach b'chol tzva hashamayim. And likewise, when we talk about the sun and the moon and all armies of the heaven, so since they don't have a choice at all in what they're doing, just like the axe has no choice, the person uses the axe to do so. The same thing is when we talk about the sun and the moon and all the armies of the heavens, since they are not, have no choice at all, therefore they're just merely like a metal, just like that metal axe that the person uses. And you cannot describe to them the idea of a partnership. They're not partners to it. Okay, so basically he says, even to describe for something partnership, you also, if you want to say that someone partners with Hashem, that means that he has a choice to do or not to do. But these items are not even partners because they don't have any choice. It just automatically happens. Who is, however, commanded about he talked about the idea that by Yidden is Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad, even partnership they cannot subscribe to, which is okay for the nations. So he says, Omno, al ze nitztabu Yisrael levad. On partnership, even on partnership, to making anybody a partner with Hashem, or to giving credence to anything that is partner, that is only the Yidden were commanded. K'moshe Kosuf. The pasuk says, Shema Yisrael goymer Hashem echad. Listen, Israel. Hashem is one. There is nobody in between. Ubnei Noach einom muzharim al zeh, and the Bnei Noach are not warned against shituf, against participation. The command that you should believe that there's only Hashem and nothing else, that's a command for Yidden. Ki yatsev gevulis amim lemispar bnei Yisrael. Hashem set up boundaries of the nations to the number of the Bnei Yisrael, which is Ayin Nefesh Yoytze Yerech Yaakov. There were 70 people that came out of Yaakov. And those were the nations. You have 70 nations corresponding to the 70 people who came out from Yaakov. Yaakov's descendants, the 70 souls. And you have corresponding to them the 70 officers. And the Rebbe is going to explain that the hashpoah v'hainu, the hashpoah, Kabbalah's hashpoah also, who may ayin sorim, they receive their flow from the 70 nations. So in other words, the hashpoah doesn't get to them directly from Hashem. There is a participation. There is ayin sorim that are in between the nations and the hashpoah. And where they get from? They get from the sorim. V'rak neshamas Yisrael, it is only the souls of the Yid. The Ksiv Chelek Havaya Amoy. There it says that his people are part of Hashem. Hadeheim nitztavu al hashituf. So they have been commanded against participation, that there's nobody participating with Hashem, because there is no intermediary between them and Hashem. Sheloi lishatev shem shamayim b'shum dover, not to participate the name of Hashem with anything else. Ukamesha kosuv, like the pasuk says, v'yodato hayoim goimer ki Hashem hu ha'elikim goimer ein oid. You should know that Hashem is Elikim. There is nobody besides him. Sheloi yesh davar zulosei klal. There is nothing besides Hashem at all. Yidden don't accept, according to the Yidden, are special because they are commanded to realize that there is no entity, there is nothing outside of Hashem at all. And like the pasuk says, Re'u ato ki ani hu ve'ein elikim imodi. It says, see now, the pasuk says, I am Hashem. It says, ani hu. I am he. Ve'ein elikim imodi. And there is no God with me. What does that mean? The leis shutofa imi, there is no partnership with me. Okay, so a Yid is commanded to realize that there is nothing besides Hashem. And a guy is allowed to participate. He doesn't, that he's okay, because they get their hashpah through the ayin sorim. So so what comes out from this? Bishlilas hashitufu. What does it come out when we are rejecting the shituf? We say not shitufu. That when we talk about the participation, the partnership of a father and a mother, because they are partners, how do they become partners? Because of their bechira canal, because their choice. So we also need to honor. We have to honor. Honoring parents is because they have some sort of a role to play in creation of the child, because without the parents' choice to have the child, he wouldn't be here. So therefore, you need to honor them. So that's why, because they are still a reason for his existence. But when we talk about rejecting participation from the stars and the constellation, that's not, you can't honor them at all. They have no part in anything. They have no choice in the flow. And there is no participation at all. That's why you're not going to honor and you're not going to consider them. So in the Yid's rejecting shituf, it depends. If it's a shituf like the parents who chose to have the child, over there you can honor them. If it's a shituf like the stars and the constellation, the sun, the moon, he said before, they don't have a choice. So therefore, there's no honoring them and no giving them any importance, because in essence, they are not really part of anything. They don't do, it's not their choice. And the Rebbe takes this further, and therefore all physical matters really don't have any importance. And likewise, lo yachshiv es advorim hagashmim shehu oisek bahem. He will not make important the physical items in which he occupies. Ma'achar she'ein ze sibas hashpa'osoi. Your work, your business, don't give them importance. Things that you're dealing with. Why? Because since they are not the reason for your flow, the ones that give you. It's not the job. It's not the physicality that gives you. It is the godliness that gives you the flow. He is the one that gives you the strength to make this fortune, is Hashem. It's not the Gashmis. V'hadover hagashmi, and this physical matter through which you gain your fortune, through which you make your living, hurak kli, that is merely a vessel. Sha'al yidei zeh tavir ha'hashpo ki garzen biyad ha'choitzev, that through it the flow goes through, just like the axe in the one that's carving. So the axe has no say. The Gashmi is the business. That's not what's giving you. It's Hashem's blessings, the flow from Hashem. Once a person realizes that it's Hashem, so then you don't do anything in the Keli which is against Hashem. In Cain, since the Keli doesn't provide you anything on its own, it's only Hashem. So that vessel needs to be totally prepared, proper. It needs to be totally kosher. He should be fitting for the blessing of Hashem. And he should not be sunk and preoccupied with his living. He shouldn't take over him totally, that he's totally preoccupied with it. He should not lower his head. He should not put his mind in this Gashmi. Shum bilbul v'shum meneya u'ma'akev l'toiro tefillah. There should be no confusion, nothing to stop him and holding back from learning and davening, because he realizes that's not what gives him the parnasa. It's not the, don't bend your head to it. In other words, don't make your mind enslaved to it, that's all what occupies yourself. But no, realize it comes from Hashem, and nothing can stop you. Your avodas Hashem, who gives you the blessing. Nothing should stop you from Torah Tefillah. The contrary, not only should it not stop you from learning and davening, mainly he should be devoted, he should give himself over to godly matters. And within the physical items themselves, you should have a godly intent. Your kavona should be godly. You should have a kavona sheyuchal lasis mitzvah, that he should be able to do a mitzvah, udlahadrich bonov, and to educate his son b'derech Hashem, in the way of Hashem. When he does that, mamshich gilu havaya echad, then he draws down the revelation of Hashem echad, hainu sheyiyeh gilui alikus ba'olam, and that is that there should be a revelation of godliness in the world. That means that the main you see in the world, it's not the Gashmis that preoccupies him, it is Hashem that occupies him, and therefore his kavanah and everything he does is for Hashem. So he's bringing down Hashem Echad Gila L'Kus Ba'olam. Hey, so continues and the idea is the Hinei B'Zoyhar Hiksha. In the Zohar, he asks the question. The pasuk says, "Mahu." What is the meaning of the pasuk? It says, "Re'u ato." See now. See now. Ani hu. I am he. Now, this seeing and this revelation is on the future. V'haloi ani hu koyi alos. I am he. This refers to the future to come. Vim kain. So in that case, mahu ru'u ato. What does it mean? See now that I am he, which is really said about the future. Why are we saying ru'u ato? In order to understand this, we have to first introduce what is the ani hu. What is the ani hu? He's going to say ani is both the Soviv Kol Almim, El Memalik Kol Almim, and that's really going to be revealed in the future. Now we can sort of have a glimpse, but it's really in the future, Ru'ato, what we're going to see in the future. But let's see. So what is the Tzorich Lahagdim Tchila? First, we have to introduce Mahu Inyan Beis Pa'amim Ani. What is the 2 times Ani that we say here? Sharei Achshov Nemar. And nowadays we say Pamachas Ani. We only say once Ani. Come on. We say Ani Hashem. We don't say Ani Hashem. We say Ani Hashem. But on the future we say Ani. Mahu Inyan Da'alos in Nemar Beis Pa'amim Ani. What is the idea that for the future we say 2 times Ani? So the understanding is Sheyiyah His Chabrus, the base Pa'amim Ani, that there will be a connection of the 2 times Ani. Shezeh Inyan Ani Anihu. That's the idea. Ani Anihu. I am the same. I'm Ani. So what is this 2 things? So Hine. So the pshat of base Pa'amim. What does it mean? Ani base Pa'amim Ani. Hein Ani Rishav Ani Achron. You say I am in the beginning. And I am the end. Ani Rishav Ani Achron. That's the Ani, the 2 Anis. So we need to understand Mahu Inyan. What is the idea? The La'osid Yeh Bais Pa'amim Ani. That then there's going to be the both 2 times Ani Rishav Ani Achron, and Ubis Chabri that will be together. So we have to, before we explain that, we have to introduce shortly Shoidesh HaHefresh, the root of the difference ben Gan Eden ve'olam haba, the difference between Gan Eden. Gan Eden is the, after a person lives his life, he goes to Gan Eden, the neshama, and then we have the olam haba, the world to come, which is when the whole world is going to be resurrected. Hana olam hatchia, all the people will be resurrected, the world of resurrection. So what's the difference between Gan Eden and olam haba? So basically, Gan Eden is a soul without a body. But when we talk about La'osid, we talk about Tchiyas HaMesim, that's a soul with a body. The Gan Eden, when we talk about the Gan Eden, Hutainug HaNeshomes B'loi Gufim, that's the light, the enjoyment of souls without bodies. V'yesh Chiluke Madreges B'Gan Eden, and there is difference of steps, levels in Gan Eden. You have Gan Eden HaElyon, you have the upper level of Gan Eden, and you have the Gan Eden HaTachten, you have the lower level of Gan Eden. So, you have in the neshamas, generally speaking, 2 categories of delights for the neshamas without bodies. And you have one called Gan Eden Elyon, and one called the upper and the lower. Now, we mentioned there's many more levels. Not the Hagam Sheyeshribu Madreges Began Eden. There is, although there is many more levels, steps in Gan Eden Canal, as we said earlier. The Talmidei Chachomim, the Rebbe brought down earlier, Ein lahem menucha loy ba'olam hazeh v'loy ba'olam haba. They don't have any rest, not in this world, not in the world to come. As the pasuk says, Shenamar Yechul Mechayil El Chayil, they go from strength to strength. So we're saying that really it's not something which is limited to the two levels of Gan Eden, but there is an endless amount of time to go. But generally speaking, but when we talk in a general way, these are two steps which are distinct one from the other. Similar to what we say, Olmodis Kasya, but Olmodis Galia. There is the hidden world and there is the revealed world. And each one of these worlds, Iskasi and Isgalia, Yesh Kama Madreges, there are many Madreges. So there is, in each of these worlds, in the Gan Eden, El Gan Eden Natach, there's an endless amount of Madreges. Yesh Neshames Shekol Haliyas Shalahem Heim Began Eden Natach. And there are those souls that all of their elevations is only in the lower level of Gan Eden. They don't merit to go up to the higher level of Gan Eden. But that's a step by itself. So that's why when we say two categories, even though there's endless, but there's some that belong to Gan Eden Atacht, and they'll never make it to Gan Eden Elyon, and then there's others that go to Gan Eden Elyon, and therefore it's two separate categories. Amadis Kasi, Amadis Gali, different levels, but there's two. So those are Gan Eden. Then we have the Olam Haba, Olam Hatchia. The Olam Haba. Then we have the world to come. Imadrega Achas. That is one level over there. Ukamaimer. Over there we say it's not some will go to this, some will go to that. It's only one level. Kol Yisrael Yesh Lahem Chelek Olam Haba. All Yidden have a part in the world to come. It's talking about in the same world. There's no different Gan Edens. There's no different worlds. One world is all Yidden have a part of there. Hagam shekol echod ve'echod nichve mechuposir shel chavere. It says about Olam Haba that each one would burn from the canopy of his friend. Meaning it would be such intense heat and fire and godliness revealed that the next one would be burnt from the canopy of this friend. So means that there will be different, if one is burnt from the other one, means that they're not at the same level. But generally speaking, that's one madrega. Unlike Gan Eden, and it's not like Gan Eden, which is two steps, Gan Eden and Gan Eden Atach, Gan Eden Elyon. And Olam Haba Yiyah l'neshamas begufim dafke. And Olam Haba will be for souls as they are in a body specifically. Okay, so it's Sorich Lahavin. So we need to understand. Lama neshamas shehem began Eden yoser megimul alafim shana kahavis u'moshe. Why is it that souls that find themselves in Gan Eden already more than 3,000 years, like our forefathers and Moshe Rabbeinu, why would it be necessary? Why would they need to dress up in bodies? Why was this such from the blessed Hashem that should come back and dress up in bodies? Why is the light so precious, such an extent that it's worthy for this to dress up in the body? Why would they need to come down in a body? Acho inyan. What is the idea over here? The hine Gan Eden hu tainug haneshomis belimud hahalochis beruchnius. Gan Eden is when the neshamas delight when they learn the laws in the spiritual level, which means the ois on ha'alochas shelemato. Those lochas that we learn, those laws that we learn below over here. Shnayim oichzim betalis. When you have two people arguing, holding on to a talis, each one arguing that it belongs to it, and you split it as the first Mishnah Bab Mitzia, and then you have the Machlif Para B'Chameir. One who changes a cow for a donkey, and you don't know when the baby was born, who it belongs to. Of these halachas that we learn here in the Talmud, loimdim shom beruchnius. Over there, they learn it on the spiritual level. Umasigin mahus hadavar, and they grasp the essence of this matter. That's what it means that they delighting, they're enjoying the ray of the divine. As written elsewhere. And that is a tremendous delight to no end. That level of being able to understand the Talmud we're learning here, the essence of it, this is a infinite, wondrous delight. Hagilu de Gan Eden, who, how do we get that revelation, that delight is why they limud Torah lamato. That is through our study Torah below. That's how you delight in the Torah above. Through the fact that below we occupy in Torah, that's how you merit to learn and understand and grasp Torah in Gan Eden, would give you the delight that you have in Gan Eden, the tainuk from the Torah that you learned in this world. Like the saying, Ashrei Misha Bolikan, lucky is the one who comes here with Talmudei biyodei, with his study in his hand, which means he learned. Because if you learned in this world, then you have material to enjoy. You learn that material above in a much more higher way. Shalimudei shalomad be'olam hazeh, that his study that he learned in this world, that's how there is the revelation of Gan Eden. So how does one achieve and enjoy the Gan Eden? It comes through the work below, through his study below. But the revelation of the future, that comes through the sorting out that we did below. And that is not just from the study, the occupation of Torah alone, but from the sorting out that you sort out with the power of the Torah. So you're getting the revelations in the future, not from the Torah alone, but from what you accomplished, the sorting out that has been done through the study of Torah. The same thing mitzvahs. The same thing is in mitzvahs. And the same thing is the revelation will be from the act of mitzvahs through the physical matters that have been sorted out through the act of the mitzvahs. That's going to be the revelation in Lashon Loveh. The Lochen Nikra Yom Shekulei Shabbos. That's why we refer to the Lashon Loveh as a day which is entirely Shabbos. Shehagilui the Shabbos, because just like the revelation of Shabbos, who alidei hagdomas sheishis yimei hachoil demisha torach be'erev Shabbos yechol b'Shabbos. We have to have, through the introduction of the 6th day of the weekday, and you trouble yourself before Shabbos, then you get to eat on Shabbos. So that means, so how does the Shabbos and the weekday work? That first you work during the 6th day to sort out And then through the work of sorting out during the 6 weeks days. The post says 6 days you work. And then you get the Shabbos. So that's the same as similar to the revelation of the future. Is Yom Shekul Shabbos Ulachar Gmar Habirurim the Sheshta Alf Shnin. That is after the Shabbos in the world comes about after you complete all the sorting out of the 6,000 years, and then you get to celebrate the Shabbos, the Osid Lave. That's how it comes about. So he's starting to explain the difference between Gan Eden's and Olam Haba, and how we enjoy Gan Eden and Olam Haba, and that's how we're going to understand the idea of Ani, Hurisha and Yachran, which comes together in La'asud Love, and how we say Ru'ata, now we also have both of these in Yonam, as he's going to continue to explain. He also explained before the idea of 2 types of participation, and essentially in one there is no part at all of like the sun, the earth. They have really no participation. That's a shituf that you don't honor at all, as opposed to a partnership where at least the person has a little bit of a part, and that part he has is because he still does something. Over there, you honor your father, you honor your mother. That's worthy of honor, as the Rebbe will continue to explain. Okay, so